Welcome back to Property Play. I'm your host, Elena Saradidis, and today I'm with my good friend, Kristina Tardif. I was
Yes.
about to butcher your last name.
That's okay.
And we're going to talk to the queen of Wasaga on all things the Wasaga market right now. What is going on in cottage country? Should I say cottage country rentals?
Rentals or just sales?
Sales?
Yeah, sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What is going on in your market right now?
We've been slow for the last little bit. A lot of people, during COVID bought a lot of cottages, secondary properties, and then have been selling them in the last couple years. So not a lot of people buying, but a lot of people selling.
Okay. So your days on market's a lot higher.
Yes, we do have a long day on market. If they're not priced well, or, a lot of people are still trying to get that higher number. So we try it out. And then, so we are, we're at least 60 days, I would
On the
say,
market?
to 180. Yeah.
I like how she says that quietly. 60 to 180.
Yeah.
So when people freak out in Toronto, I should tell them to calm down.
Yes. Yes.
We were talking about this earlier, and she asked me how many days like my average day on market was, and I was like, right now it's probably 10 to maybe 50 depending on the days. And she was like, my minimum is 50. This is how it goes. Everyone just needs to like relax.
Yes.
And she just said 50 to 180. So people in Toronto need to chill.
Yeah.
Wasaga's got it harder.
And some have been on the market for a year. So yes.
Yeah. And like, are you noticing that the people that are selling, are they mostly recreational users, or is it people just trying to move different markets?
No, I find a lot of people right now are looking to simplify. Everybody kind of went crazy in COVID. And now I feel they're trying to downsize, get rid of debt, that sort of thing. So there's still a lot of movement. It's just, and then there's a lot of estate sales and divorces. So yeah, it's lots going on.
Okay, I had Amy Flowers on a while back, and she was talking about divorces in Milton.
Yeah.
Are you noticing the same thing there? Like in your pocket, like does divorces make up a big portion of the market right now?
Yeah. I almost feel like it's like post-COVID, like kind of, I don't know, there's something going on, but maybe it's just our age too. I don't know. Midlife, kids are getting older. I don't know. But yeah, it is. There's a lot of it going on, a lot of estate sales too. But yeah.
Okay, and then the people that are usually buying in, are they people that are usually upsizing, or are they from the outside of your core? Like where are they coming from usually?
Like we were talking earlier, I think a lot of it is if people say in Toronto or in the outskirts are downsizing, you kind of have to go further north to get that value. So a lot of people moving up from the city, they can get a lot more for their money. They can become mortgage free, invest, in multiple properties, based on what they sold in Toronto for. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say.
And then I think we were mentioning too, before the camera started rolling, we talked way too much. This is the problem. But you were mentioning like proper time to list now.
Yeah.
And what you've been kind of discussing with your clients in that market. Like when is the right time to list the property? What are you kind of advising people on?
We were looking at stats from last year, and every quarter the first 3 quarters last year were down, but our fourth quarter was up by 30% for our brokerage. So we did see an uptick in the fall market. I did convince a lot of people to list in the fall market who were considering this spring, because in my opinion, you can always, relist in the spring if you're not getting what you want, or at least test the market and then relist. But right now, I would say January, February, every year has been when people have gotten the most return because the inventory is low. And right now we're seeing that, where November, just in Wasaga alone, there's about 325 listings. Right now we're just over 200. So we're down like over 100 listings. So yeah, there's a lot less competition.
That's still a lot of competition, especially in your market.
Yes.
Like that's a lot.
And that's in a small town of 20,000, 25,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I feel like I'm getting sticker shock when it's like there's 200 and something listings that are all within a certain, basically, I want to call it a neighborhood, because it's not like
a
it's
neighborhood
like
in Toronto. Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically like a neighborhood has 200 and something listings, and I don't know like what do you even look at. So even just having 100 more on the market would have been madness.
But the funny thing is we have buyers sitting waiting to get into certain areas, a certain type of house, and they've seen everything on the market. So now we're also waiting for that new inventory to come. So some of our properties, we had 2 multiple offers this past week, on lower priced homes, but still because people are just waiting for stuff so it's funny. As much as we have a ton of inventory,
There's
people are
buyers on the sidelines.
Yeah, still waiting. Yeah.
So I'm noticing that as well. But what I'm noticing is buyers are looking for good inventory, and not
Yes.
everything on the market is good inventory right now or shows in the best way.
Yes.
So like there are listings. I'm not
Yep.
saying there's not listings,
Yep.
but I have pipeline of buyers that
Yep.
are like, I want to buy a house and I'm
Yep.
ready to buy tomorrow, or I want to buy a condo and I'm ready to buy tomorrow.
Yep.
And even though people are like, the condo market is awful right
Right.
now, there's a lack of good inventory.
Right.
Like I was in multiple offers yesterday on a condo.
Mhm.
Like it happens.
Yep.
And the day before I was in multiple offers again on a
Yep.
condo. So
Right.
like it's the condo market. We're having multiple offers, but there was a pattern effect. It was the best product on the market.
Right. At
And
that time.
we all
Yeah.
went and saw it.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was getting the keys and someone was walking out, or I was going to the open house and there were 4 people leaving. It's a good product. So good inventory is still selling.
Yes.
It's just there's so much inventory that it floods the market a little bit.
Yes. And price, obviously price, right? Some people are testing it, reassessing, cancel, relist, whatever. But sometimes that's making a difference because instantly when we cancel and then relist, we're getting showings again. And any product that was left on over Christmas, we were having showings. They weren't getting them before, but then afterwards, yeah, we were seeing them.
So I found that as well, but I found it because there was nothing.
Right.
So everyone pulled their listings right before the
Yes.
holidays, and then everyone was like, there's nothing to see. I guess we'll go circle back to the ones we didn't like, or the ones we didn't see, or the ones whatever.
Yep.
So I ended up getting an influx of showings in December
Yep.
and like start of January on leftover inventory that was like, we're going to cancel and relist it anyway. But
Yep.
all of a sudden we have 10 showings. and
Yes,
we're like, what
yes.
just happened?
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let it run its course. And in a week or two, we'll relist.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see what happens now.
Yeah.
But it is very much a guessing game
Yeah.
because it's a weird market.
Well, and I think there's going to be a ton of inventory coming to the market. I mean, our team alone has a lot coming. So
I think you were ready to tell me a number, and I was like, oh my God, wait.
Yeah, no. I don't really know how many, but yeah, probably a lot. So I can just only imagine how much inventory is going to be coming in the next month or two.
Yeah.
Which hopefully we will see buyers coming to the market. But if we don't, we're going to be in the same position where there's too much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel like I have to like preface, like Kristina Tardif is a really big agent. And I know she's making faces at me. She carries like 40 to 50 listings at a time. That's not average. Like that's not the average at all. The average real estate agent in Ontario does less than 1 transaction a year. So like when she's saying like there's a lot of inventory and there's showings still happening, like that's a testament to the market and what's like currently happening.
Yeah.
Like you see it, your ground's on like your boots
Yes.
on the ground. You see exactly what's going on.
Yes.
I'm curious to know, like, in terms of like what you're selling them for, because you said COVID happened, a lot of people overbought, and now they're kind of downsizing again. Are you noticing people are selling at a loss?
Some. I find a lot of the listings we're looking at right now have purchased in 2021, that year. Maybe they can get their money back. But most are selling at least a slight loss. But then you have to make that decision, right? Do you sit on the market forever and incur more costs, or do you just price it for market value and get it sold, right? So
Have
yeah.
you noticed, and I only mention this because I've noticed it a couple times now in Toronto,
Mhm.
sellers not being able to afford to close? Not the buyer, the seller. Because if they are selling at below market,
Right.
like below what they bought it for,
Right.
they have to consider all the extra costs that
Yeah.
now they're going to endure.
Mhm.
Like, are you noticing any sellers are having issues where you're at?
No, I mean, even like I had one seller, she had purchased pre-construction, was 2,000 short on the rent that she was getting for the last 2 years, had a high percentage mortgage. Like she was walking away with 50% of her down payment, like less, right? So it's tough. It's tough. Even, yeah, the pre-construction is not paying off.
Is there a lot of pre-construction in your area?
Quite a bit. Collingwood's like now at a halt with building because of the water structure. Like they can't house anymore until they improve that. But yeah, Wasaga Beach has a huge development going in. We have a brand new school. Yeah, there's a lot.
So have you noticed in the last little while, like a population growth where there's a lot more people coming in?
A lot of people from the city, a lot of people bought, and there's a ton of rentals because they're waiting a year till they own. And then they're still not going to get, some of them, the price that they paid for a year or two ago. So they're stuck because they're struggling to carry it based on.
So was
You
this
know?
like the COVID inflated prices where people were going in, buying it for ridiculous numbers, competing in multiple offers, and now they're kind of like, oh wait, I had a secondary property that now has dropped significantly in value and the rents don't carry. So should I let it go? Like cut the bleeding now, or do I sell it?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it, that's the new construction though. Like what they want out of it after they, all the closing costs and everything, there's no way they're getting that money back.
So are you noticing, are people doing assignment sales there?
The odd one, it's
Okay.
not common at all though.
And are they moving, or are they like sitting on the market forever and like nothing's moving?
There's a lot. That's the problem. In that neighborhood where it's all the new builds, there's 10 of the same model, right? So then it becomes a price war. Which one has, better upgrades or finished basement or whatnot? So yeah.
Are you noticing though, like, I don't want to say natives to the area, like people that have been there that are not moving up there, are they going for newer inventory?
Not really.
Okay, so
Not
basically
really.
it's more so the investor or the person that's
Yes.
turning into like, will live there eventually, that's
Yes.
buying the new
Yes.
inventory.
Yeah.
And now they can't sell it because the people in the area that stick to the area don't want to buy it.
Yeah.
Or at least don't want to buy it at that price that they
Yes.
paid.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the resale you can get for a better price than the new builds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's the same way across the board. I guess all of Ontario, not just in Toronto and in
Mhm.
Wasaga. I feel like that's everywhere.
Yeah.
But like the key feature was people from outside the area coming in,
Mhm.
purchasing these properties that they think they're going to be able to rent it out for. And
Yeah.
then when they try to sell it, the people in the area that stay there
Mhm.
don't want to pay those prices.
Yeah.
So I feel like people need to be a little cautious on that end. It's like, how much am I going to spend?
Yep.
And like, what am I going to actually be able to do with this property after it's done? Like
Yeah.
it probably would have been more beneficial for them to have bought a resale inventory in your
Yeah.
area and then to resold it to
Yes.
one of the neighbors that would have
Yes.
bought it.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I even bought 2 properties at the peak. I mean, we were in it. Who knows? Like I bought 2 duplexes and yeah, I overpaid. But I mean, I can feel for my clients that are going through that. I mean, but again, my intent was not to sell anytime soon. It's like a long-term plan.
Can I say, you can't say you overpaid. And I'm not saying that to like say it to the consumer, but I'm saying like in the time that you purchased, did you feel like you overpaid?
I don't know.
Like when you were putting down the offer, were you like, I'm really paying for this? Or did you just say like, I'm paying? Like,
Yeah.
this is just
Like
the
the
price.
numbers made sense at the
Yeah.
time at 2%
Yeah.
interest rates.
So like,
Yeah.
you didn't overpay. You just bought at a time in the
Yes.
market that like it, unfortunately, didn't do the best right after. But
Yeah.
like if you hold long term, it'll go back to whatever it was selling for previously.
Yes.
Like,
But like if I was to have to sell it today, would I get what I paid for it out of it? Maybe. And that's where I think it is. The 2021 numbers have come, we paid high and then have come down to like with the cost, they're still losing, but
the carrying cost. per month.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
But I feel like that's everywhere. Like finding an investment property that you buy it and the
Mhm.
next day
Mhm.
it cash flows off the bat
Yeah,
is rare.
yeah,
So like I've been telling people like the condo market, you can't put 20% in cash flow.
yes.
So what I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, in Wasaga or in Collingwood, if I'm putting 20% down, I'm probably not cash flowing.
No, you have to go for a multifamily property at that point. Minimum duplex, yeah.
So you're cash flowing.
Yeah.
So you didn't overpay.
We're cash flowing now because we're at a 2%
The
interest
interest rates came down a little.
So in 2 years, I'll tell you.
If
where
it
we're
made
at.
sense.
Yeah.
Look, I paid like for some of the ones that I've bought recently, like during that time as well.
Yep.
Because everyone was buying.
Yep.
Like it's herd mentality. When everyone's like, we gotta buy, like there's nothing. You just gotta buy everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone buys.
Yeah.
Like we're victims of it too. Like we buy too. We're just like, we need to buy something.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things available.
Yeah.
Which we probably need to retrain our brains to be like, if there's a lineup, we'll sell. And if there's no lineup, that's when we'll buy.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think like our generation has gone through what they went through in the 80s, right? Like my parents were like, this isn't going to last. This isn't going to last. And I'm like, whatever, I need to buy now. I don't want to, wait a year and regret it. But then it happened. So
Yeah,
it's the first time that we've had to go through a downturn in,
Yeah. It's
20 years.
Yeah. But it's rotational. Like,
Yes.
eventually you're going to be like, the property's worth so much more. And like, look what happened. And like clients get freaked out and they're like, why did the neighbor sell for this price? Have you gotten that? Have any of your clients been like, why is my neighbor selling for a certain price? Or like, I paid X amount. Why are they selling for Y? And like, how have you been able to like calm them down?
I find it's the opposite, like people wanting to list higher because their neighbor sold for X amount 2 years ago, and it's hard to make them understand. We've come down, but that's why they're testing the market. They're trying to see what kind of price. And the funny thing is, you have people that are selling almost fire sale, like they have to sell. And then you have the random house that goes up because there's nothing like it and it sells for high. So then it's very hard. The market right now, probably the hardest time in 20 years that I've had evaluating properties to find out what that market price is, because you can only go back maybe a year because prices have been coming down year after year, right? So that's what I find the toughest part.
What are you viewing in terms of pricing strategies right now?
We do the cost approach on some, depending. We really break it down like item by item, upgrade by upgrade, lot size, and really we're giving a range. And then it comes down to timing, right? Do you want to sell it quickly? Are you okay to be on the market 6 months and see if we can get the top end of this price point? And that's kind of why maybe our days on market are a little bit longer.
Yeah,
because we're not cookie cutters, right? Like there's a rural property, there's estate properties, there's, condos, there's waterfront, there's north of,
maybe I should rephrase when I'm talking about like pricing strategies. I'm like, I usually tell sellers, there's 3 pricing strategies. You can price it below market value, create a feeding frenzy, and then have everyone compete, and your house will sell for the most amount of money.
Okay.
In the least amount of time.
We don't have that up there.
Or you have the middle one where it's like we price a little bit below what the last one sold for, because it will create some buzz, and hopefully you'll end up getting more than that one just because you're the new shiny thing on the market.
Right.
Or we price a little, like there's aspirational pricing.
Yeah.
There's aspirational pricing where you price above market value. And like, this is like all the stars align that like, let's test the market number and see what happens. And that one usually stays the longest on the market, and it could take months. It could take years. I was going to say it could take months. It could take weeks. It could take months for it to actually move.
Yeah.
But it's going to take some time, and everyone's going to start negotiating you down. Now, what I've noticed has happened recently is there's really only 2 types of pricing now. Like I can't say the 3 pricing model anymore because it doesn't always work.
Right.
I'm like, you either price for an offer date, and it's very, very specific. You're under a certain price point, you're a certain type of product, you can do an offer night. If you're not, you're pricing and giving a little bit of a buffer room. And it's because everyone's going to negotiate.
Yeah.
It's the market for it. Like having it in your head that someone's going to bring you a full priced offer is wild.
Yeah.
Like that's the part that, so I was in an offer night the other day. Welcome to story time. This is how this always happens.
Yeah.
My tangents turn into stories. I was in an offer night. Well, it wasn't even an offer night. A property is on the market.
Yeah.
It's 3 days on the market. I bring them a really nice offer. I think I was at like 95% of list price, which is fantastic, especially for this market.
Yeah.
With the closings that they want, there was still conditions, but everything else that they wanted, we did. And they signed it back at full list.
Well, see, in our market, we have many clients that have turned down offers, and now we are listed below
what
they got. And this is the hard thing. It's hard to explain that to people until they live through it. Once they go through the steps and they've lived it, then they get it. But prior to that, it's very hard. I even sold my cottage a couple years ago, went with a local realtor's evaluation. We thought we could get more. I'm like, I'm not going to be that person who lists their property higher. And we sold it in a week, but that was the goal. The timeline was the goal heading into winter. But we look back and we're like, we think we could have got more, but we accomplished what we needed to do at that time. So,
I tell my clients all the time, because I've lived through it now where that has happened, where the first offer that came in was the best offer.
Yeah.
And it typically is. Like rule of thumb, the first offer is usually the best offer.
Yeah.
They were the person that was the most ready for your house to hit the market. They've been hunting for weeks. Your property came, they brought you an offer. Like they know
Yeah.
they want your home.
Yeah.
The moment that person is gone,
Yeah. Yeah.
you now need to find a second person, and you've ranked up more days on market.
Yeah.
Your price is now going to get bullied down every day or every week or every month that you stay on the market.
Mhm.
So like, it's best to try and work with the first offer and see if you can get a deal done.
Yeah.
Like I said this saying the other day, and none of my team members knew what it meant. I don't know if you know it, but a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
used that the other day and everyone was laughing. They were like, what are you talking about? Because I was reading a text message that I sent to an agent because I sent them an offer and they didn't want to work with it. And I was like, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush.
Yep.
Like, tell your client that there is a likelihood that my offer goes away and you don't get sold.
Yeah.
Or you get sold in 10 days from now when your client feels like they've been exposed more to the market. And they're going to bring them the same kind of offer that I just brought, or lower, or not have the same closing date.
And that was in one of the real estate hack groups this morning. I was talking to Michelle on my team about this, about some agents getting upset that when they submit an offer, people are not signing it back. And it became, should you always receive a sign back? You know what I mean? Because I feel I've had offers be so like 100,000 apart. And obviously people are upset and emotions are involved in it. But then you bring it together and you're like, oh my gosh, like.
I always sign back.
Yeah.
I believe in signing back.
Yeah.
I actually think you miss 100% of the deals you could have had if you don't sign back.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's no deal.
Yeah.
There might not be a deal there. But if we can figure out where is your endpoint, we can figure out, is there a deal?
Yeah.
And like, there's been bridges. $100,000 is not a big bridge to cross. Like $500,000, depending on the price point, is not a big bridge. Like you can mend that gap. $50,000 is nothing.
Yeah.
Like you can mend gaps. Like it's very easy, but it's a give and take, and both people need to feel good about the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing. It's like, okay, where are we listing based on what your evaluation was? So even if the lower end of the evaluation is, 20,000 above what you're going to land on, is that bad? You're looking at what maybe you think you could have got and comparing to that versus what reality is.
Yeah. And a property is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay.
Yeah.
And like in any market, that's all it's worth, what a buyer is willing to pay. If someone 2 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago was willing to pay more for it, that's great. But that's not your buyer.
Yeah.
You don't have that buyer anymore. They bought the property.
Yeah.
So like managing expectations is a really big one. And I feel like in your market, it's even worse because the amount of days on market, like telling people like, don't jump off the bridge. It's going to be fine. Like we're going to take some time, but it's how everyone's moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. There's just not the demand for the recreational properties anymore, right? Whereas during COVID, anything on the water, near the water, the river was selling.
I still want one.
Near the water?
Yeah, if you find one, let me know. I want
The
one.
beach.
Yeah, but I want one like, this sounds so bad, but like I'm looking for an hour to an hour and a half away from the city. So like 2 hours might be a little bit pushing it.
Yeah.
And like, I know that's insanity.
An hour
It's
and 35 minutes it took me today.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the snow. It took you that. No, but I have it in my mind that it needs to be close enough that if I needed to come back, I could still come back, but far enough that I can fully unlock, like unwind, turn everything off, like relax. And waterfront is the dream. Like have it on the water, because then why would I have a cottage if it's not on the water?
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing to say?
No, because we're looking at buying a cottage again, and it's the exact same thing. It's like you could work 24/7 at the cottage, but there is something different about the setting, the view. You're not, doing all the things at home,
Buy
running
my
the kids
island.
around. Yeah.
By the island.
That
I'll
might
come
be a bit
visit you.
much.
I'm like, buy a place and I'll come visit.
I need something
give
to
me the
drive
codes
through,
to
not take a boat to. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like we touched on a couple topics. One is how many days on market is a normal amount of time to be on the market. What we're kind of seeing in terms of when you should probably be listing a property and when the best time is, and inventory action, like what's happening. So I think that's the end of this episode.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you for having me.
Anytime. Once again, it's Property Play. If you like content like this, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.